All right, good morning to you. Welcome to K24 New Dawn. I'm glad that you could join us this particular morning and trusting us to bring you up to date and setting an agenda for you as far as news is concerned here in the country. Now, there's so much that we have lined up for you this morning that you are waking up to, and also what you're going to be expecting during the day as far as development news is concerned here in the country, all the way from the political front to social issues to matters economy. We have you covered. And also later on, we'll be having a conversation in studio about one of the biggest topics of conversation that seems to be taking center stage in the political arena, and this has to do with the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Already, signatures are being collected in the National Assembly. Different members of the National Assembly have come out to now suggest that the Deputy President is not fit to hold office, and they want him out. The process of collecting signatures, of course, is underway as the leaders allied to the Deputy President say, bring it on. We are going to deal with it when it gets to the table. They're daring those who want to impeach the Deputy President to start that particular debate. That we'll be having later on here on the program. But now we just want to take you through some of the news stories that you're waking up to, and this has to do with the daily. So start engaging us on our socials at Amoy Brian on X, at K24 TV across social media platforms. That is on Facebook, on X, and also on YouTube. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program this particular morning. Do tell us where you are waking up from here in Nairobi or other parts of the country, and also what you think about the conversation that we'll be having later on as far as the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is concerned. Now, this is the thing. We will take a look at the newspapers and also take you through some of the stories making headlines. But we start with the stories making headlines across the country. Then later on, we'll be taking a look at what is making headlines on the newspapers and what you're waking up to as far as newspapers are concerned, and why you should make an effort when it comes to picking these particular newspapers and get informed on the issues that are happening across the country. Now, we start with the news this particular morning. The promise of universal health coverage for all Kenyans is in jeopardy as the much-anticipated awaited Social Health Insurance Fund may not be implemented in time due to the shortcomings within the authority. Now, Parliament's Health Committee assessment of the Social Health Authority revealed that it does not have the capacity to hire its own staff and relies on staff from the National Health Insurance Funds to carry out its activities. This, among other issues, has seen the committee question whether the implementation period should be extended further. Here is Ben Kirira with more details.
A House of Parliament and
the National Assembly's Health Committee has identified several hiccups in the implementation of the Social Health Authority and the transition to the Social Health Insurance Fund.
The urgency with which we passed these laws, and again, the urgency with which we want to have them implemented, we will not meet any of these targets.
The committee has found out that the Social Health Authority lacks an organizational structure, preventing it from taking over the national health financing role from the NHIF. There are only approximately 4 months left before NHIF's mandate lapses. Within this time, the organizational structure must be established, Kenyans registered, and Social Health Authority operationalized.
NHIF currently has got so many staff. How far have we gone even in terms of appraising?
The HR instruments were completed in April and they were submitted. Remember, before they are approved, you cannot begin any process.
If we are waiting for the instrument to be approved, then it looks like we may not necessarily hit the date.
The authority has blamed court cases for delaying the registration and approval of human resource instruments critical for the rollout of SHIF. The Ministry of Health further states that SHA is awaiting approval of HR instruments by the Public Service Commission.
The court gave a ruling on that on the month of July. So you can see the delay that has been caused not out of the making of the ministry or the SHA, but because of the court cases.
You have a new establishment. You have a new, old staff. How do you transit them, especially with accountability, claims, reimbursements? How do you transit them and hold them accountable should anything go wrong?
As of this morning, 464,263 Kenyans had been registered on SHA, a small fraction of the total number of Kenyans who need to be enrolled, with both Ministry of Health and SHA officials struggling to explain the registration systems to the committee.
You're saying you're in the process of procuring. How are we registering members already in a system that is under procurement process?
We are using the current systems of SHA to register members.
Current systems of NHIF or SHA?
The SHA. We created a new portal under SHA.
The system was configured in-house to allow for registration. So once this has been, once the registration is done, now it's supposed to integrate with the main system that is currently on advanced stage of procurement.
The emerging uncertainties come at a time when Kenyans have in multiple instances complained of suboptimal services offered by NHIF, hoping for a change with the incoming SHIF. Ben Kerera, K24, Nairobi.
Now, a petitioner has moved to court seeking to stop Adani Airport Holdings Limited from expanding the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Now, in a petition filed at the Milimani Law Courts, Isaac Lango-Guyo wants a court to nullify all proceedings and agreements related to the project by Adani Holdings, saying that there was no public participation in the project and transparency, thereby infringing on the Constitution. Now, we take a look at this comes rather as the government now says that JKIA is 10 years behind its development master plan. Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The move to have Kenya's biggest airport undergo a facelift that will make it competitive and at par with its global counterparts is now hanging in the corridors of justice after a petitioner moved to court to stop the upgrade that was to be done by Adani Airports Limited. The petitioner has asked the courts to cancel the deal, citing a lack of proper public participation. He asked the courts to declare the entire transaction as unconstitutional, null and void. Another prayer was for the courts to order the immediate cessation and nullification of all proceedings and activities related to the said PIP. In documents seen by K24 in the proposed deal, Adani Group sought to build a new passenger terminal, refurbish the existing terminals, construct a second runway, and enhance cargo handling facilities. It is a move that caused an uproar online, forcing the government, through Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, to come out and clarify. Mudavadi on Tuesday, through a statement, revealed that the government is reviewing a proposal by Adani Group under the Public-Private Partnership 2024, saying it is not yet inked and that due process will be followed.
I have seen many people saying William Ruto wants to sell the airport. Am I a madman? How do you sell a strategic national asset?
The government chose to entertain the idea of Adani coming to the rescue of upgrading the JKIA, saying the expansion of the airport was estimated to cost 216 billion Kenya shillings, money that the exchequer could not finance owing to the current financial difficulties in the country. Mudavadi argues that JKIA is 10 years behind its development schedule as per its long-term master plan and is lagging behind its regional competitors on quality of infrastructure, innovation and technology. The latest incidents that have put the airport on the international news following its leaking roofs and flooding pathways highlighting the need to upgrade. Mudavadi said the country is currently facing a tight fiscal space due to the public debt burden and it was therefore prudent to look at the option of public-private partnerships. He said this is the direction the government took in its budget policy statement 2024 to have additional infrastructure investment. The deal to have Adani in the country will run for 30 years under the operating model, with the company getting 18% of the annual turnover. KAA clarified that no KAA employee will lose their job with the incoming of Adani, despite the deal indicating that employees will have to renegotiate their contracts with Adani and will be forced to accept new conditions as one of the bases for hiring. The deal also indicates that there will be shipment of talents from abroad and that Kenyan government will assist the visas for the coming in workforce and that of their loved ones and places to stay. Brian Amoai, K24, Nairobi. All right, now President William Ruto has nominated Public Prosecution Secretary Dorcas Oduor for the position of Attorney General, And Beatrice Moe as the cabinet nominee for the East African Community Affairs and Regional Development are closing the list of his cabinet that is awaiting the vetting process. Now that is set to kick off this week on Thursday through the to Sunday rather at the Parliament buildings. Now Odor is an advocate to the High Court of Kenya and holds a Masters of Arts degree in International Conflict Management from Nairobi University, a Bachelor's of Law degree from the same university, and a diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law. She has previously served in various capacities, among them Deputy Director, Public Prosecutions, Head of Economic, International and Emerging Crimes Department in the Office of ODPP, Deputy Chief State Counsel as a State Counsel in the Department of Public Prosecution at the then Office of the Attorney General. Now, Beatrice Moe, on the other hand, a social scientist and a consultant, is specialized in community management, having previously served as the county executive member in charge of water irrigation, agriculture and land reclamation in Turkana. She also served as the director and chair audit committee to the Rift Valley Water Service Board. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Sciences from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa and currently pursuing a master's degree in Governance and Ethics. Now, addressing religious extremism, promotion of religious tolerance and civic education on the rights and responsibilities of religious organizations are some of the recommendations of the task force set up in the aftermath of devastating Shakahola massacre. Now, the task force established in May 2023 has today presented, or rather yesterday, presented its comprehensive report to the president, having been mandated to investigate the systematic failure that allowed Mackenzie's cult to flourish and claim hundreds of lives. Now, President William Ruto has pledged to swiftly act on the recommendations, emphasizing the need to uphold freedom of worship within the law.
The 17-member team, chaired by Reverend Mutava Musimi, has spent the past year analyzing the legal and regulatory landscape surrounding religious organizations in Kenya.
The abuse of religion, the use of religion to carry out very anti-religion things is what got our attention as a nation.
The report pinpoints critical gaps that have enabled extremist groups to operate unchecked. To address this, the task force recommends a multifaceted approach, including the enactment of new legislation specifically designed to regulate religious organizations, the creation of a dedicated Religious Affairs Commission, and the implementation of a hybrid regulatory model that balances self-regulation with government oversight. The report calls for amendments to existing laws to address religious extremism, educational reforms to promote religious tolerance, civic education on the rights and responsibilities of religious organizations, and enhanced mechanisms for reporting and addressing extremism.
I will, with dispatch and without wasting time, take the measures to ensure that we progress the good work you have done so that we can do what we all want. We can protect our right to worship God in all the ways that we choose to, and we also safeguard that freedom of religion in a way that recognizes our diversity, but also brings responsibility to the exercise of that freedom.
Paul Mackenzie of Good News International Church, who is at the center of the tragedy, is in police custody and has been charged with terrorism alongside 94 other co-defendants. They pleaded not guilty to the charges at a hearing in January. The 55 men and 40 women also face charges of murder, manslaughter, as well as child torture and cruelty in separate cases. David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's allies have sent a stern warning to any member of parliament who is planning to table a motion of impeachment against the second in command. Now, according to a section of MPs and Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga, it will be a political suicide for members of parliament from the Mount Kenya region who will append their signatures to support the motion reach the floor of the House. Our political affairs reporter Joel Chacha now reports.
With speculations rife of asking Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua from the Kenya Kwanza government through filing of a motion of impeachment, Gachagua's allies are breathing fire.
From the mountain, he represents us in that government. And therefore, attacking Rigathi Gachagua is attacking the mountain. Attacking Rigathi Gachagua in his political space as a deputy president is also attacking Kenya.
Let us not think that, in fact, it will be a business as usual to bring such a motion of a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, a person who comes from a particular region. This one, I can tell you, to bring a lot of backlash.
If the president has no confidence with his own deputy president, he should publicly come and say so. But if he has confidence in his deputy president, then he should, and also advise his members of parliament.
Nyeri Governor Mutahi Kahiga has dared any member of parliament to table the motion, referring to Gachagua's political influence as one that cannot be downplayed.
That is an affront towards the mountain, and it is really an attack on us as a people. And we will not take it lying, but it has its consequences. Whoever feels that that is the way to go, we kindly tell them, bring it on, we will deal with it.
They further argue that the grounds for impeachment are invalid, as the second in command has dedicated himself to serve the Ruto-led government without question.
Hiyo maneno ya deputy president na impeachment, hiyo tunawagojea. Hatutakubali. We are not going to allow anybody to victimize anybody just because he says he loves his community or he is talking for his community. For example, sasa kama mnataka kuimpeach deputy president, mnataka kutuambia ile kazi ya pombe alikuwa anafanya ni mbaya.
So surely, for me, it's not a priority, and I am clear that that's not something I would support. And I think we have more urgent issues that we need to be discussing.
With that kind of thinking, is somebody with very evil mind. Because what I have just tried to say, to check around those grounds that actually I read, and eventually I just realized that actually people are just playing politics and bringing gimmicks, and just trying to bring allegations against a single person.
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
All right, now listen, that story by Joel Chacha will be forming the basis of our conversation this particular morning. We'll be taking a look at the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Already signatures have been collected in the National Assembly to table them so that the process begins. Now, you've heard that his allies are saying, we dare you to start with that. If you are told you have the balls to do it, okay, let's meet on the floor of the House with that particular motion. That will be the basis of our conversation. Has everything that he has done ever since he got into office. He's being accused of insubordination, undermining his boss, and quite a number of allegations that have been thrown his side. So I'll be getting into that, trying to make sense of those particular allegations and whether they warrant an impeachment. But I want us to take a look at the dailies today and what you're waking up to as far as news is concerned, and give you a reason to go pick these particular newspapers and, grab a copy of these particular newspapers and read for yourselves and get informed on the issues that are happening in the country, on issues to do with matters current affairs. We start with the People Daily, and on the front page of the People Daily is Gachagua's trio grilled over Gen Z demonstrations. Now, this is one of the stories that is making headlines on this particular newspaper, and also some of the reasons as to why an impeachment motion is being, fronted and proposed against the deputy president. Now, it says, crime detectives visit DP's current office to probe claims that his top aides financed chaos in anti-Ruto protest by youth. In anti-Ruto protest by youth demanding accountability in use of public funds and good governance. And of course, you can see the photos of Ngujiri Wambugu and George Theuri. These are the photos of people that seem to have been grilled and close to the deputy president. Now, this is a story on page 6. I just want us to take a look at that and see what exactly this particular story is saying. And on page 6 of the People Daily, we say, Three top aides of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua were yesterday grilled over claims they financed chaos in the anti-government protest by the youth across the country. Now, Directorate of Criminal Investigations officers visited the DP's current residence, where the statement of the three were recorded after they were grilled for hours. Now, they have been identified as political advisor Ngunjiri Wambugu, youth advisor Joe Theuri, and private secretary Munene Wamumbi. Theuri is a former Embakasi West Member of Parliament, while Ngunjiri served as the Nyeri Town MP in the last Parliament. A source revealed that the detectives also grilled two sitting MPs who have been very vocal in the support for the Deputy President in recent months. That is a story on page 6 of the People Daily. You can grab your copy and get that particular information. Also, on the front page of this particular newspaper is why Ruto picked Oduor for AG. Now, by settling on women to fill vacancies in cabinet, President Ruto appeared to address concerns over 2/3 gender requirement. Remember, in the last cabinet, that was not the case, and it brought about an uproar. And of course, this particular one, they say it falls by 1% short when it comes to meeting the 2/3 gender rule, but seems to address quite a very big chunk of it, whereby we have close to over 30% when it comes to representation of women in cabinet. 68%, of course, these are the other gender. And another top story on this particular newspaper, after poaching Raila's ODM at Crossroads. This is a story on page 4. You can grab this particular copy and get to read that. And also on the front page is mothers opt for a bottle feeding. Well, the Ministry of Health is raising concerns about this particular issue. They say, as opposed to breastfeeding, young mothers today are opting to use the bottle to feed their infants. And this, they say, it is 3 to 10 of these particular infants. Of course, now that is on the top page of the People Daily. You can grab that particular copy and get yourself informed as far as news and current affairs is concerned here in the country. I want us to take a look at the Daily Nation and what's the top story on the Daily Nation. And this one says, Gachagua's aides quizzed by police. Of course, the same particular story that was on the People Daily. And 3 close aides of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua questioned by detectives over alleged links to recent youth-led protests that forced President William Ruto to make major concessions. Among them, withdrawal of the finance bill and dissolution of his cabinet. This even as talks of an impeachment motion against the DP persists. Of course, this is a story on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Now, another story here, the rise and rise of Dorcas Oduor. Yes, the same story that we've been able to see across other dailies today, and that is the People Daily. The rise and rise of Dorcas Oduor. The senior counsel will become the country's first woman attorney general if approved by members of parliament following her nomination by President William Ruto. Now, the move will also add to the growing list of women leading critical institutions in Kenya's justice system, alongside Chief Justice Martha Koome, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, Chief Registrar of the Judiciary Winfrida Mokaya, and now Ms. Oduor. Now, another story here is the task force wants new tough laws for religious groups. Of course, we've run that particular story. And Task Force, this is a story on the back of the Daily Nation. Task Force has recommended the establishment of a Religious Affairs Commission, as well as adoption of a hybrid model comprising self-regulation and government oversight. You can grab that particular copy and read those particular stories. Let's take a look at what is happening on the Standard. Yes, taming false prophets, and this has to do with the issue to do with Shakahola, the report that was presented to the president yesterday. Another story that is making headlines on the Standard is teachers threaten to strike over salary dispute. This is a story on page 3 of the Standard. Yes, another story here on the Standard is Venezuela rocked by polls. Protests, of course, they took to the streets. There's a story on page 21. You can grab that particular copy and get yourself informed. And of course, also on this page is Dorcas Oduor. It is, of course, across been able to see that particular story across the other dailies. And Ruto nominates first woman AG. This is if Parliament at all approves her appointment. And one of the stories that will also be making headlines here is the issue to do with leader split on talks of DP impeachment. Of course, we've been able to run that particular story. So you can grab that particular copy and get yourself informed as far as news is concerned here in the country. All right. Right, let's take a look at what the Star is saying. Inside Adani's 240 billion plan to overhaul JKIA. Adani offers to pay KAA 6 billion yearly for the first 5 years and 6.7 billion by 2035. Now, this is a story that has elicited a lot of debate in the country, especially when it comes to forcing the government, rather, to come out and clarify. That is the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi that came out to clarify yesterday, saying we haven't yet inked this particular deal. Of course, people have gone to court to stop this particular deal and stopping the cabinet, the government, rather, from engaging further when it comes to the deal between JKIA and Adani, where of course we had fears when it comes to job losses and all that. Another story that is making headlines on the Star has to do with the current nominees as far as the cabinet reconstitution is concerned. And of course this has to do with the CS Attorney General nominee, that is Dorcas Oduor. These are some of her qualifications. Of course, CS nominee for EAC, that is Beatrice School. And those are some of her qualifications on that particular page of the Star. Now, I want us to take a break. That is, now you're informed. You have a reason to grab your copy, right? Good. I want us to take a break. When we come back, we'll be getting deeper into our conversation this particular morning on issues to do with the impeachment of the Deputy President. That is Rigathi Gachagua, the second in command. 18 months into office, the conversation has already started taking place. To what end? Exactly. This do. My name is Brian Amoy. Continue engaging us on our socials at Amoy Brian, that is on X, at K24 TV across social media platforms, on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, whichever way you want to consume this particular information this particular morning. Right?